Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Happy Friday. And if it's another day of the week, happy day to you, wherever you are. I just invite you to take a deep breath or two. Pull your energy in here with me. Let's gather together in the virtual realms. Seeing a tree root coming down to the base of your spine, anchoring you deeply into Mother Earth. Becoming a conduit between you and Mother Earth, releasing anything that no longer serves you deep down into the earth to become compost for future growth. Thank you for coming here today. Let's start with our intention setting. Creator, this is your daughter Titania, and I'm here to create a space for wisdom and light and love to flow into our lives for the coming week. My intention is to be a clear channel for the information that most needs to be received right now, and to use language that will be easily understood, heard, and integrated for the highest and greatest benefit of anyone who is on this call, now and in the future. I thank you for this opportunity to be of service. I call upon my higher self and the higher selves of all those who will be listening now and in the future, as well as an overlighting angel of communication to facilitate this exchange and ensure that it happens in the highest and best way for the highest and greatest good of all concerned. I also invoke the four archangels to come and hold the four directions around us, creating a sacred container of light, love, wisdom, and beauty, healing, upliftment, joy, peace, balance, alignment, congruence, anything that is in our collective heart and mind at this time. Please come now. Anything that does not match these frequencies of light, of love, of clarity, of wisdom, of upliftment are welcome to go now. And so we begin this reading. It's Friday, the first Friday in September, and to be honest, it's the 4th. The days, they run into each other. Not true, but a little bit. Okay, enough small talk. Let's see what the energies for the coming week have to tell us. What do we need to know about these so that we may be in our greatest harmony and balance and alignment, functioning at our best and showing up as our best selves in the world, in whatever way that looks like right now. Because, of course, our best changes because we are human. Being human, we change with every day, with every hour, with everything we eat, with everything we drink, with everything we breathe, with each and every one of our interactions. We are changed. And so we bring a different quality of energy to our every new moment. And learning to be okay with this. Wow, that's a big gift we can give ourselves. As you can see, we have a little friend here climbing around on the flowers. They just came in from the garden. Here to spend time with us, a little tiny ant exploring the rose. All right, let's begin. I hope everybody had a good week. I hope you've enjoyed this last week of September and the last week of August and the first week of September. I'm multitasking here. Chit chat doesn't work so well when you're starting to focus. Okay, everyone, let's get down to this. Recent past, the influence is waning, but it continues into your present and into the future. Our collective past coming into our future. Oh, here we have the tower. We are old friends with this one. So this is our collective past, and those things are being brought down to their foundations, things that are out of integrity, structures, institutions, all of those parts of our collective culture that no longer serve us are being brought to their foundations. And this is a very trying time, and it can fill us with fear if we don't recognize that this is all part of a perfect unfolding, that humanity is on the doorstep of a new layer, a new point of operation. We're expanding. We're becoming more than we were. And as a result, those things that we relied upon to give us structure and to give us support are falling away. And this is okay. And this is okay. And it's being done kind of, the Tower card is a pretty intense card. It looks pretty violent. You see this whole building coming down into a cloud of smoke. But it's being brought down to its foundation so it can be built again in a good way with strong construction, with strong intention, with strong vision for its purpose. And that's what's happening for us collectively and personally. Many of us have been going through transformations on the personal level about things that once were very solid in our lives aren't so anymore. And so we're finding ourselves in a new place with a mound of rubble to clean up, a clear foundation to examine, and to build from. It's an opportunity for tremendous growth for each of us individually and for us collectively. What do we want for our future? I can't stress it enough that we need to vision, spend time visioning, call it a daydream, whatever, but visioning the world as we want it to be. For me, that means clean water, clean air, intentional use of the planet's resources wisely and well for the greater good of everyone, not just the few. There are so many, many wonderful opportunities and solutions before us. So although can be a dramatic and sometimes even a scary card, what we need to recognize is this is always, even when things are difficult, there is always something in it for our greater good. We just need to look for it and move in that direction. Our present card, where we are right now. Sorrow. So feeling it. We are human. It's part of our skill set. Our bag of tools as humans, part of what it means to be human for us is to feel. And some of us feel very deeply indeed. And that's okay. If we can just accept the fact that that's part of who we are and love it anyway, even though it may be difficult at times. And recognize too that we will not always be here. This is a temporary thing. We will not always be in this place of sadness, of darkness, of feeling at the effect of things. We are the sky, and our feelings are the clouds, and they pass over us. And we feel them deeply when they happen, and then life happens again, we move on, the weather changes, and we are blue sky once more. Always remember that feelings, as strong as they may be, are temporary, and they change. And we can participate with that. We can choose. We can choose to love and accept ourselves for where we are and just be okay with it, as well as choose to use the information that's coming to us from our strong feelings and move us in a new direction. Recognizing that it's a gift, an opportunity. Whenever we face adversity, whenever we face contrast, we're always clear about what we do want. It's an awesome opportunity for information gathering. So as we go through our experiences of sorrow and overwhelm and feeling at the effect of, and you see the three blades are coming in directed at this portly little character down here who seems to have fallen in the hole and is really sort of languishing. And that's okay. As I said, this is just part of our human experience, and loving ourselves for being human or being here in our human form is okay. It's a lot of directed energy. Swords are about ideas and action, and there's just sort of this sense of being at the effect of the actions that are happening in the world. It's not forever. We are more powerful than we realize. We need to really use this opportunity of contrast, of deep, profound contrast, to clarify what we want for ourselves, our families, our communities, and the world. We have to leverage this. We have to be intentional and powerful. Again, it's okay to spend some time in the hole, feeling the feelings and having the experience, but just don't get stuck there. You have work to do. We all have work to do. And our calling is to transform the world through the contrast that we experience. So use this gift well. Your future, Prince of Hearts, new beginnings, transformations, incoming. So knights, you think about a knight. In my deck, they're called princes. A little bit, fancier. But in other decks, they're called knights. And knights, the energy of knight is they move very quickly. And so in our near future is this transformation or this change, this big shift or incoming energy on the level of our heart place, our feeling place, the suit of hearts. So in the sense of emotions, big changes. I think a lot of us are starting to open our eyes and see more and more that the existing structures that we've had that are, that are kind of holding on desperately and causing a lot of suffering while they do it, um, that we'll have a change of heart around these things. We're having a change of heart around a lot of things that are going on the planet at this time. And we're connecting to our hearts again. We're connecting to that aspect of us that connects us to each and every one of us. We are connected to each other through our hearts, through that collective field. And it's really important for us to feel that, to recognize that we are all connected. And so whatever we can do to alleviate the suffering of another is of benefit. Now, you can't alleviate somebody's suffering by suffering more yourself. That just doesn't work. That doesn't equate. How we relieve each other's suffering is by pulling ourselves into a more resilient and resourceful perspective so that we can be of service to another. We can be of service to each other. And so it's really, really helpful to remember this, that as if we want to be of service, if we want to be part of this change that's happening at the level of the heart on the planet, we have to be the change and we have to live into it. And we need to find our feet and stand firm and tall in that new place of feeling our connection to each other, loving ourselves, being kinder with ourselves and with each other. And through that kindness, we will create a world of kindness, of tolerance, of love, of compassion and understanding, and a world that we all long for. We all have this in our hearts and minds at this time. Some of us are just, focused on other things, but ultimately this is something that we are all going through. And it's good. Let it inform us. Let this aspect, our hearts, our connection to each other, inform us about what is good for the greater good, what is good for all of us. And ultimately, those values that we hold in our heart are good for everyone. Kindness, safety, love, everyone's needs being taken care of in a good way, as well as remembering the planet and her needs and all life that we share this planet with. Coming at our vision for the future from this place is wonderful and will give us support. Use it as a project. If you need something to distract you from the world and the sorrows of the world, again, give this vision of a beautiful planet to yourself as a project. Go out when you're feeling bad, take a few breaths, look at the sky, breathe in the fresh air, get out into nature if you can, and then think about what a wonderful world would look like to you. What would it look like? And give yourself opportunities to daydream about it. And knowing that we're all connected, and as we allow ourselves to have those daydreams, we're feeding our collective vision of the future. You have an important role to play. You as an individual are very, very important. Your unique perspective needs to be brought to the collective. And we do that. We can do that by daydreaming, by plugging into the collective consciousness. And of course, we can also do that very practically by in our day in, day out lives, being kinder, more patient, more resilient with ourselves and with others. Okay, I'm rambling. I'll keep going. The foundation, why we're having this reading for this week, we have the Emperor. So we have two major arcana so far. Tower's major arcana, the Emperor's major arcana. Now, major arcana is all about our evolution, our becoming moreness, our seeking what is highest in ourselves and in each other, and bringing that to life, and the process of that. That's what the major arcana is about. The minor arcana, the four suits, are more about mundane things, the day in, day out stuff. So we have as our foundation for this week the Emperor. And the Emperor, if you look at him, he's sitting on this wide throne. He's sitting at the base of the mountain. It's the number 4, very stable, very grounded. And the Emperor is sort of the quintessential patriarch, but in a good way. He is an individual who is very powerful, but uses his power for good, who looks out over the land, over the realm, over his people, and he sees the potential and he supports and actualizes that potential. He puts resources behind his people. He sees what's for the greater good and he supports it and takes care of it and helps it. So what's great is this is our foundation card for the coming week, is this idea of this stable energy of creating that which is good for all. But from a benevolent, and again, it's the patriarchal card. So it's that masculine energy, benevolent patriarch card. So it's this benevolent but masculine energy of using the masculine aspects for the greater good, the collective good. So this is what we're resting on this week. This is what we are being called to look for. How do we be the emperor in our own lives? How do we be the emperor in each other's lives? How do we leverage the resources together? How do we move together in a good way? But first of all, starting in our own lives. So this idea of creating a solid foundation together that moves everyone forward, honoring the planet as well. He's grounded. He's anchored on the land as much as he is, he's anchored at the foot of this mountain. He understands the connection between the planet and all life everywhere. And from that understanding come wise decisions. So developing our wisdom and connection to all life everywhere, and asking for this. I think we forget that we're part of something greater. And if we don't interact with it and ask for help, it can't help us. We can't benefit from our dynamic with this life force. So remembering that we can ask for help. Okay. How we need to conduct ourselves. 5 of Wands, competition. So, if you look at this picture, you have these two facing off, surrounded by all these wands. Now, wands are about creativity, inspiration, and passion. And these two are sort of standing off in the realm of their passionate creativity and expression. And this is, again, the position is how we need to conduct ourselves. And so, yes, we are passionate. That is the life force that drives us through life and that pulls more life through us. Our passion, those things that we enjoy, those things that fill us with enthusiasm and inspiration and satisfaction. Those are really good things. This is part of life. This is part of the juiciness and celebration of what it is to be human, is to have these wonderful, intense desires and drives. And it's also wise for us to know how to express ourselves to each other in a way that is honoring each of us, in a way that is honoring another's perspective, but without necessarily having to get into a big struggle about it. There are a lot of perspectives right now on the planet, and it can be quite confusing if you're looking for your information outside of yourself, or if you're looking, and that's going to sound a little bit, from a three-dimensional perspective, that's going to be like, well, of course, where else are you going to get your information? But it's understanding that we have an inner compass. We know when something's on and we know when something's off. And so learning to tap into that inner wisdom and that inner knowingness when we come face to face with all these different opinions and perspectives that we're going to encounter in the world is important. And this isn't just from a one-size-fits-all perspective either. We're each unique individuals. We each have unique perspectives. And that's the brilliance of diversity, is that those unique perspectives collectively make us greater if we can harness that energy. And this is what this card is about. This is about coming together from our different perspectives and learning to use those differences well to create from a diverse perspective, hearing the input that others have to bring and understanding that those different perspectives will only enrich our vision, enrich our purpose and our goals, individually and collectively. We exist in community, and our experience in community helps us to be more than we were, than if we were in isolation. So recognizing that even though sometimes the perspectives can be divergent and it can be challenging, that it's okay to hear each other out, and to do that with acceptance and kindness. You don't need to embrace another person's point of view, but just hearing these perspectives and weighing them against our inner compass. Is this in alignment for me? Because ultimately we get to make a choice about whether we're bringing something into our field or not. So there's a lot in this card for the coming week. How we need to be is this idea of leveraging our inner compass when we encounter diverse opinions and perspectives and beliefs, and just being grounded and kind and wise and open and feeling our way along. And if something feels off, that's okay. Pay attention to that, because your instincts are good ones. I'm sure if you look back in your life, you'll see that. So for the coming week, when there is this sort of competition or conflict energy, or people sort of coming together and squaring off, and recognizing that there's a lot of fear running and people are being loud and obnoxious because the fear is running them. So if you can find a neutral space to hear somebody, that'll do a lot to diffuse a challenging situation. And recognizing that there is not just one way forward for all of us. We each have our own path, and we need to find that way forward. And we do that by hearing each other, by listening to each other, by taking in what others have to say and weighing it against our inner compass as to whether it's appropriate for us or not. Yeah, it's a big card. Okay. How others are going to be? Discipline. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Discipline. Yeah, I think we can all shirk a little bit when we hear that. It just sounds hard, doesn't it? But discipline doesn't have to be hard. Discipline is actually a kindness. Discipline is the container that we create for ourselves so that we can function effectively in this third dimensional reality. It's like when you have, I'm going to give an example of an art show. As an artist, if you have an art show, you have a date and a theme and a medium usually, or several mediums that you're using to work towards an exhibition. It could be a project. But nevertheless, when we have such a prescribed container, it gives us guidance, it gives us focus, it narrows our focus and our energy to that container so that we can deliver what we said we would do at that time. And so discipline, think of discipline as being the provision of a container through which we can unfold our gifts in a manageable way. Because if we don't have containers, the sky's the limit, everything is wide open, and it becomes overwhelming to ourselves and to others. So this is how others are going to be. So the position is how others are going to be. And others are going to be looking at the qualities of containers and discipline, and putting limitations on what may seem like limitations. And because this is a collective reading, this is maybe what we can see on the larger scale, is this larger trying to corral and contain and apply discipline and make people behave, which is not, at this time in particular, as these old structures are coming up, and there's an effort to try and keep us in those old structures. There's a lot of people who are resisting. And, again, that's okay. That's part of our unfolding. What we're exploring right now is what's coming next. And for too many of us, we're too big to go back into the containers that were. Those containers don't serve us anymore. And so we need to create new ones. That's why having these conversations and hearing all the different perspectives is important, because it will enrich our collective outcome and the new containers that we're building for ourselves. So just in regards to others, if somebody else is trying to put a containment on you that doesn't feel right, pay attention to that. Notice that. You don't have to go with it, along with it. There are options. And part of it would be communicating your new perspective, communicating what you see and what you want. Certainly with our leaders, it's unfortunate because so many of them have been financed by corporate interests and special interest groups, and that's where they got all their money to win their elections and project themselves into the collective consciousness through their campaigns, etc. But are they truly representing what we want as the people? Are they truly representing what is for the greater good of all? And so this needs to be questioned deeply. As I said, the existing power structures don't necessarily serve us. So going back to them doesn't make any sense. We need to expand or build new ones. And this is happening right now. We see it in the media. Everything is going on right now. People are questioning everything. They're questioning the police. They're questioning government. They're questioning leadership. They're questioning everything. Healthcare. It all needs to be looked at deeply because it hasn't been serving us and it needs to change. So conversations and dynamics with others around discipline and containers and others trying to assert discipline onto others, which doesn't usually work very well. This is something that has to come from us individually. And, collectively we make agreements, but those agreements have to be appropriate and fair and for the greatest good. They need to be logical. They need to be reasonable. They need to be appropriate. And that is part of the conversation that needs to happen. Okay, the outcome for the week, judgment. Oh yeah, another good major arcana. Lots of good stuff going on in the world, people. It may not look like it, but there's a lot of good stuff happening. This shakeup is for our greater good. Always remember that. When you just can't take it anymore, take a deep breath and go, yeah, I may not see it right now, but someday I will. And I'm just going to trust that this continues to be for our collective greater good. The card of judgment. It's the second to last card in the major arcana. And this is about reckoning. This is about wisdom. This is about reaching for something higher. You see the hand is reaching up into the higher realms. You have the angel of judgment blowing its horn, and we're striving for something higher. We're striving to pull those higher aspects down into our present reality. This is what we're doing collectively. Again, our existing story is falling apart. We have a lot of grief and a lot of sorrow around this. We have new beginnings in our hearts. We're understanding how connected we all are. And this is very strong and happening very quickly, how we are all reconnecting with each other. We need to be wise. We need to be wise in our choices and our decisions and really look at life from the greater good. What do we need for everyone to thrive, including the planet and all its creatures? We have here this energy of competition, of conflict, of discussion, of argument, of the containment. As I said, proper wise containment or structures of discipline serve. Those that seek to oppress and confine and limit our expansion collectively need to change. That has to stop. It doesn't serve us. That's what this is all about. Those small structures don't serve us. So trying to reapply them isn't going to work. And that's why we're having so much uprising in the population. So many people are speaking up and out, and it's not serving us. Of course, the media doesn't necessarily want us to see that because they're serving a narrative as well. So it's important for us to be curious, neutral, open-minded, and stay balanced as we go about in the world. And then we have this card, judgment, at the end. And judgment isn't about making somebody else wrong. Judgment is about discernment. That is the higher level name for this card, is discernment. And discernment is about what is appropriate for you. And of course, because this is a reading about our collective experience for the next week, we're also needing to look at what is appropriate for us, all of us, not just a few, all of us. What is appropriate for the planet? We need to apply discernment, not making each other wrong, but rising above that duality and seeking what is best, transcending the argument, transcending the polar perspective, and coming together with a solution that is of service for all. So this is the outcome. This is what we're moving towards this week, is this energy of transcending and discernment and wisdom. There's a lot about wisdom in this reading this week. A lot about operating from a wiser, broader perspective, operating from a place of hearing the different perspectives, because they will give us the information we need to create the containers that serve all of us from a place of love, acceptance, and tolerance. you know, being upset about the falling away of the old and the familiar, but recognizing that it wasn't serving us anyway. So don't get stuck in grieving it too long, please, because there is so much good coming, but we need to move towards it. We need to choose it. And we choose it from this place of discernment. From our inner compass, we will know what is greater and more appropriate for ourselves. And from that clarity that we have within ourselves, we can come together with others, because then we know what we can accept or not accept in our own experience. And so we can have conversations about that because we're clear about what works for us. And from that wisdom of us individually understanding what's important to us and what we need, we can have conversations collectively about what we need and what's important to us. And we can, from that place of wisdom, move forward and make powerful and positive choices and decisions that will serve all of us, because that's what this is about. It's about serving all of us. So, this is a good reading this week. There's a lot of good stuff here. A lot of good stuff. Don't lose hope. As I said, when appearances seem like it's just all going to hell in a handbasket, transcend that perspective, because it's not true. We're evolving. And imagine the chaos and the conflict within a caterpillar as it's going through its metamorphosis into a butterfly in the cocoon. What does that feel like before it erupts as this new being? That's where we are. And it's difficult. It is difficult, but we're doing the work. And so long as we can remember to keep our hearts open, to stay as neutral as possible, to stay kind and receptive and listen to that inner compass, we will move through this beautifully, people. We are moving through this beautifully. As I said, there is a certain narrative that we're fed through the media, and I see it feeding a lot of fear and a lot of discomfort and a lot of worry in people. I don't think it's a good idea to spend too much time hanging out there, to be honest. It's far more important to be in your own experience right now, to spend time in your heart, in your family, in your direct experience, understanding, from that place within yourself of curiosity and wonder and openness, and that inner compass, what works for you, what doesn't. And when you get lit up about something, spend some time asking yourself, why? What is it about this that lights me up? And what would I prefer? What would I prefer? What contrast is this giving me, so that I understand what I prefer and what I want for us individually and collectively? It would be so helpful to spend time in that state of discernment. That's where we get our wisdom. Okay, so that's the reading for this week. I'm going to pull a card for us to grow on. Thank you, cards. Good stuff, really good stuff. Discernment, people, wisdom and discernment. All right, what do we need this week? What is our card to grow in? What is the card of wisdom we need? What do we need to know for the coming week? What is it for us? Okay, here we go. The name of the card is Defeat, and this person is standing with all these swords incoming. What's really interesting is a lot of the cards that I've seen today have also been cards that have been coming up in individuals' readings this week, and I think that's such an indicator that's what's happening for us as individuals is happening collectively, and it's, we're not separate. It's all part of the same thing. So this card of defeat, this incoming, that just feels overwhelming. And again, I will just draw your attention back to this idea of the media, the stories that are being projected into our spaces, and the angle that they're being delivered at. There's a narrative, a story here that's being flung at us, that's being imposed upon us. Don't let it overwhelm you, please. Don't let it get you down. Recognize that this is somebody's agenda, and it's something that they feel is important for whatever reason, and it doesn't serve. It ultimately doesn't serve. It's not serving life. It's not serving growth. It's not serving us collectively into the future of joy and love and kindness that we're calling forth in our hearts. And I think the louder that contrast gets, the more we recognize that these things aren't serving us. The stronger that contrast gets. I mean, it's serving. Okay, first off, the contrast is always serving us because it's helping us to clarify what we prefer. Okay, right off the bat. But what I'm trying to say is the contrast in these aspects, you know, the stirring of the pot, so to speak. I think it's part of our waking up. It's recognizing that this isn't serving us, and that we need a different way of communicating collectively, that we need a different way of sharing information. And that needs to be something that takes all of us into account and is a more, again, collaborative and discerning process. The media companies are held by a few, and those few are also the people who hold a lot of the world's wealth. So I would just suggest that as we go forward, you start to be discerning about what you're hearing and question it. And if it doesn't match up with your inner compass, maybe spend some time reflecting on that. Use the contrast that it draws up, of course, because it's serving us to figure out what you prefer. But also, be discerning about what you're putting in your field, about what you're bringing into your life and what you're thinking about and giving your attention to as well. Because we have a control over that. We do get to choose how much dramatic contrast we're exposing ourselves to, so to speak. I think comes a point where you get pretty clear about what's important and what you need and what you prefer, and you don't need so much contrast anymore. So, that's good to know too. And we could choose to unplug from the contrast inducing things to, certainly with the media we can. That's something we can choose to do. Plug in once a week or twice a week to get the main headlines. Usually I find that people tell you if something pretty intense is happening on the planet and needs your attention. But really, you can't get worked up and worried enough and stressed out enough to change anything. What you can change is your immediate experience, your immediate interaction with others, your life in the here and now. That's where it's unfolding. That's where you can have an open heart. That's where you can show more love and kindness and tolerance and compassion. And that's where you can practice neutrality and discernment and wisdom. So for the week ahead, our card to grow on. Be wise. Be wise about allowing yourself to be defeated by what isn't even true in your immediate environment. Choose instead to be in your now, to be with those around you, and to be a source of light and love in whatever way that calls to you. These are interesting times, my people. We're going to get it through, though. We're going to make it. And we are making it. And we are changing, and we are all growing. And that's what's happening at such an exponential rate, which is why all these things have to fall down anyway, because we're changing. And it's okay and it's good. And we're moving toward positive things. So trust the process. Trust yourself. I know that it's all going to work out. Everybody's waking up to this. It's happening. Just some are taking a little longer. Those who are vested interest and are deeply tied to those things being the way they were because it served them, they're going to take a little bit longer maybe to come around. But we're all going to get there eventually, because ultimately this is for the greater good. It's just how it has to roll. Okay, so don't be defeated this week. If you're feeling defeated, take some deep breaths, go and look at the sky, go walk in a forest, go hug a tree, go change your perspective, and then use the contrast as leverage point for discerning your preferences, what you want for yourself and for our collective future. It is work, but you're up for it. You really are. Okay, my loves, love and light to each and every one of you. Creator, thank you for this opportunity to be of service and to do the readings at this time for all those who are listening. I ask for your light, your love, your presence, your radiance to shine in each and every individual's experience. Open our hearts and minds to wisdom, to neutrality, to discernment, to kindness, to love, to healing collectively, to making good decisions in our personal lives and making decisions collectively. I ask for wisdom, for discernment, for awakening for our leaders. And for those who are applying pressure, those who have been benefiting from the structures that no longer serve us, I ask that they too wake up, that they too have their understanding that our experience here is about our collective experience and our individual experience, and how can we thrive as individuals and also collectively as a society, and what will that look like? so many possibilities here, and it's truly exciting. And I'm so grateful to each and every person who is out there holding visions for what is possible, holding pieces of the solution that we will use to powerfully move ourselves forward. This isn't going to take as long as we maybe are afraid it will. We have so many of the solutions already in place, ready to go. It just takes awareness and will and attention and energy. And these are all coming together. So by practicing your part, by visioning the future that you long for, you're helping to build that collective picture, and you're helping to pull through the solutions that need to happen. And you're also clarifying your own perspective and place in that outcome. So thank you for doing that daydreaming work, if you want to call it that, the visioning of our future. Again, love and light to each and every one of you. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe if this has brought you some clarity, some peace, some little part that's helped to shift your week into something more positive and affirming. And please share. I'm open to you sharing this with others who may be interested. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Happy Friday, happy weekend, or happy whatever day it is that you happen to come and listen to this recording. All the best.